My girlfriend claimed she was infertile, but then got pregnant by my best friend. Now they want child support. So I made them regret it. I, 29M, grew up in a small, close-knit town, the kind where everybody knows your business whether you like it or not. My teenage years revolved around my best friend, who I refer to as best friend, and we did almost everything together. We rode our bikes across every back road, played on the same school sports teams, and even dreamed of starting a small business someday. He was more like a brother than just a friend. We had each other's backs through heartbreaks, family issues, and academic struggles. After high school, we went our separate ways, but our bond stayed strong. A few years later, I found myself back in our hometown, renting a modest apartment just a few blocks from where I grew up. Best friend also returned, working odd jobs while figuring out his career path. We were still inseparable, catching up over drinks, reminiscing about the old days, and sharing our relationship stories. About 2 years ago, I started dating someone I'll refer to as girlfriend. She was charismatic, funny, and had a gentle spirit that drew people in. We met through mutual friends at a small house party. I remember how she leaned in to talk, showing genuine interest in what I had to say. It was refreshing to meet someone who wasn't trying to impress me or force conversation. Our connection felt instant and comfortable. We started seeing each other more frequently, long walks around the neighborhood, casual dinners at local diners, or quiet evenings watching movies in my living room. Things progressed quickly, and within a few months, we were official. We didn't move in together right away, but we spent most of our free time at each other's places. One thing stood out to me from the very beginning. Girlfriend claimed she was infertile. She mentioned it casually one evening while we were discussing future plans. According to her, a doctor had once told her she might have a hormonal condition that would make it difficult to conceive. She spoke about it as if pregnancy would be nearly impossible. I took her at her word, never suspecting that she might be exaggerating or twisting facts. Why would she lie about something so serious? During the first year of our relationship, best friend became close to girlfriend as well. The three of us often hung out, playing board games, going bowling, or just grabbing drinks. I felt a real sense of gratitude that my best friend and girlfriend got along so well. But I also noticed small changes in best friend's behavior that I brushed off. His text to girlfriend became more frequent, and sometimes I caught them sharing inside jokes that I wasn't part of. Still, I figured it was harmless. After all, it was nice they got along in their own right. The drama began one ordinary Friday evening. I've been working a hectic shift. My job can get demanding, and I was exhausted when I clocked out. I swung by best friend's place to see if he wanted to grab a quick bite, but he never answered the door. After a few unanswered calls, I gave up and went home. Later that night, I discovered he and girlfriend had been hanging out without me. They claimed they tried to invite me, and that my phone must have been unreachable. I chalked it up to bad timing. Over the next couple of months, more red flags appeared. Girlfriend started acting evasive. Her phone would ring. She'd step outside to talk and come back looking tense. She began turning down weekend getaways, saying she felt drained or needed time to herself. Meanwhile, best friend was suddenly busy whenever I wanted to invite him to social gatherings. My gut told me something was off, but girlfriend calmly told me I was overthinking and needed to trust her. Then, everything flipped upside down. One day, girlfriend announced she was pregnant. My initial reaction was confusion, given everything she'd said about being infertile. She shrugged and said that doctors can be wrong, or miracles happen. For a brief moment, I was even happy. I wanted kids someday, though not quite like this. But as the news sank in, all those red flags, her behavior, best friend's oddities returned to my mind. Sure enough, about 2 weeks later, girlfriend confessed that the baby might not be mine. She insisted our relationship was the real deal, but claimed she had a drunken slip-up with best friend. She pinned it on alcohol and emotional confusion, insisting it meant nothing. The betrayal left me reeling. I'd been with someone who told me repeatedly she couldn't get pregnant, only to find out not only was she pregnant, but it might be my best friend's child. I demanded a paternity test. She seemed hesitant, less because she thought I was unreasonable, and more because she said it would hurt her emotionally to confirm who the father was. Best friend offered only half-hearted apologies, like, dude, I never meant for this to happen. Girlfriend acted like we could just move on. Not long after, I learned they'd been having an ongoing affair, not just a one-time fling. Even more infuriating, they wanted me to step in financially if the baby turned out to be his. Child support came up in conversation, with vague references to how I'd be abandoning them in a time of need if I didn't help. Their nerves stunned me, but I knew I had to think carefully before responding, so I kept my cool and started planning my next steps. When I first heard girlfriend and best friend's logic that I should support a child that might not be mine, my jaw dropped. Who would demand such a thing, especially after cheating? But they carried on as though it were the most natural expectation in the world. Girlfriend argued that I was financially more stable compared to best friend, so I should do the right thing. Best friend chimed in that I'd known her longer, so I had a deeper responsibility to care for her and our baby. I could hardly believe their audacity. Seeking clarity, I reached out to my uncle, who's familiar with family law in our state. Over the phone, I laid out the situation. He listened patiently, then explained that child support generally relies on legal paternity. If I'm not the father, no court can force me to pay. If anyone challenged that, I'd be entitled to request a court-ordered paternity test. His advice was to seek legal counsel and avoid signing anything that acknowledged paternity until after the test results were confirmed. I tried to stay calm. I was furious at both girlfriend and best friend. On one hand, I felt deeply humiliated. On the other, I worried that any impulsive moves could lead me into a permanent legal mess. The days became a blur of tense conversations and sleepless nights. Girlfriend flipped between guilting me for leaving her in a vulnerable state and insisting she still loved me. Best friend sent text along the lines of, we can work this out, as if some easy fix existed. One evening, girlfriend let herself into my apartment with a spare key I'd stupidly given her. She started gathering some of her belongings, then sat me down for a teary speech about how she wanted me in her life and that we could co-parent regardless of biology. The guilt on her face was obvious, but her tone felt manipulative, like she wanted to corner me morally. Curious why she'd ever claimed to be infertile, I pressed her for answers. She admitted she'd exaggerated what a doctor once told her, that she might have difficulty conceiving, not that she couldn't conceive at all. She turned that possibility into a surefire line, I can't get pregnant, so I'd trust her more and worry less about protection. That revelation made my blood boil. It was a deliberate lie that put me in an incredibly vulnerable position. Tension escalated further when best friend demanded I come over to his place. I arrived hoping we'd have a straightforward talk, but he and girlfriend together cornered me about child support. Best friend insisted, if you really cared about her, you'd support her financially. I reminded him that he was the likely father. He mumbled about his unstable job, insisting I was better equipped to provide. His twisted logic left me speechless. That night, I resolved to protect myself. Step 1. I cut off all financial ties and made it clear I wouldn't pay a cent until we knew the true father. Girlfriend was furious when I mentioned involving an attorney, accusing me of dragging our private matter into legal battles. But I was done playing by their rules. My parents soon got wind of the drama. My mom panicked that I might get stuck with child support, while my usually calm dad was livid at best friend's betrayal. They urged me to lock down my apartment and ensure girlfriend no longer had easy access. I followed their advice. I replaced the locks and texted girlfriend that if she needed more of her belongings, she had to arrange it with me first. She shot back an angry text, claiming I'd kicked her out during her pregnancy. Best friend tried guilt-tripping me with, "You're letting money and pride tear us apart." I refused any further meetings or calls unless they agreed to a paternity test. I also made it known that if they tried to force me into financial obligations before we had proof, I would respond legally. Deep down, my instincts told me I wasn't the father anyway. That's when things turned uglier. They began telling mutual friends I was abandoning a pregnant partner. A few old pals reached out, demanding to know why I discard a woman carrying my child. Furious, I started gathering every scrap of evidence. Texts, call logs, photos, showing they'd been cheating behind my back for months. If push came to shove, I planned to expose everything, not just to our social circle, but also in any necessary legal context. Little did they know, I had no intention of rolling over. They played on my loyalty, but I was determined to fight back and make them regret ever trying to trap me in their twisted scheme. Because I refused any private sit-downs, we arranged a day to do a non-invasive prenatal paternity test at a reputable clinic. These tests can compare the mother's blood sample, where fetal DNA circulates, and a swab from the alleged father. Girlfriend arrived with best friend trailing behind her, acting smug. She gave me a glare that said, "I can't believe you're putting me through this." Best friend tried to seem casual, even joking that it was all just a formality. I ignored them and focused on the procedure. We each provided our samples, and the clinic advised us it could take a couple of weeks for conclusive results. In the meantime, girlfriend and best friend stepped up their campaign of entitlement. They spread rumors among mutual friends and tried contacting some of my relatives. My cousin reached out, confused about why I was shirking my responsibilities. I set him straight, and he promised to do the same for anyone else who asked. Soon, I discovered that girlfriend was looking into ways to list me as the father on official paperwork after the baby's birth, apparently hoping I wouldn't contest it. My uncle had warned me. In some places, if a man is named and does nothing to refute it, a court can treat him as the father for support purposes. The mere thought of that fraudulent possibility made me even more determined to stay vigilant. About a week after the paternity test, girlfriend invited me to her parents' house for a discussion. I met her parents a few times, and while they'd never been openly hostile, they were always a bit formal. The tension was palpable the moment I walked in. Her father pulled me aside, telling me I needed to man up and care for his daughter. When I asked if he knew there was a strong chance I wasn't the father, he said it didn't matter. She was my girlfriend, so I should be responsible. I realized then that girlfriend must have twisted the story to her family. I calmly explained the paternity test was pending, and that if best friend turned out to be the father, that responsibility was his. Her mother chimed in, "Everyone makes mistakes, but a real man doesn't abandon a pregnant woman." Best friend then stepped forward from the corner, speaking about me as if I weren't there. "I can't believe you're being so cold," he said. My anger flared. I told him if the results showed I wasn't the father, I'd walk away completely, and I'd respond legally if anyone tried to entrap me. That didn't go over well. Her father cursed me out, calling me cold-hearted. Girlfriend ran off to another room, presumably for dramatic effect. Best friend just shook his head, acting like I was the bad guy. Feeling ambushed, I left, my resolve stronger than ever. Finally, the day came when the clinic called with the paternity results. I was definitively not the father. Relief washed over me, but so did anger at their attempts to pin the baby on me. I forwarded the results to the attorney my uncle had recommended, along with screenshots, voicemails, and all the evidence of girlfriend and best friend's manipulations. Feeling empowered, I decided it was time for some truth-telling. I privately reached out to mutual friends who'd been fed lies, calmly laying out the facts, the cheating, the bogus claims about paternity, and their shameless demands for money. Many were stunned and apologized for doubting me. I also retrieved text messages from girlfriend's old phone, which she'd left at my place, proving the affair was ongoing, not a one-time slip. Best friend had even left me voicemails admitting he could be the father. I was done letting them control the narrative. If they wanted a public spectacle, I'd present the actual receipts. They had tried to manipulate me into a corner, but I was about to turn the tables. A few days after I got the paternity results, I confronted girlfriend and best friend in a meeting at my attorney's office. My attorney wanted to keep things neutral and documented, given the tension. Girlfriend looked anxious. Best friend tried to seem composed. I walked in, handed them a copy of the test results, and watched as their confident facades broke. Best friend, who'd previously tried to guilt-trip me, now muttered that he never wanted to force anything. Girlfriend gripped her bag, refusing to meet my eyes. I told them I knew about their months of deception and had proof of their attempts to pressure me financially. My attorney cautioned that if they ever tried to name me as the father again, we'd pursue legal avenues to protect me. She spelled out that submitting false information on official documents could have serious consequences. Girlfriend burst into tears, accusing me of destroying her world. She said I was heartless for not supporting her pregnancy. I reminded her that she'd lied about her fertility, cheated with my best friend, and expected me to pick up the tab. Best friend tried to defend himself by whining about his lack of money, insisting I was in a better position to help out. His sense of entitlement left me speechless. That's when I dropped the final hammer. I let them know I had copies of every text, voicemail, and timeline to prove their betrayal. If they continued slandering me, I would ensure everyone learned the truth. Best friend looked genuinely scared about the fallout. Girlfriend tried one last emotional appeal, but I was done. News spread fast that I wasn't the father. Mutual friends who had doubted me backed off from girlfriend and best friend. Some were disgusted by their actions, and a few stayed neutral but no longer blamed me. Word reached best friend's family, who were reportedly mortified. He moved out of town for a while to escape the gossip. Girlfriend, on the other hand, faced reality without my financial support. If best friend was indeed the father, child support was his obligation, not mine. Although I felt a pang of sympathy for the baby, I refused to be exploited. Anytime someone came at me with, "How could you abandon a pregnant woman?" I calmly explained that a prenatal paternity test proved I wasn't the father. I also shared how I'd been deceived. People were either shocked or apologetic. Girlfriend and best friend seemed to realize that no further lies would stick. Life eventually returned to normal for me. I focused on my career, spent time with family, and reconnected with old friends who stood by me. I hit the gym more often to channel my stress into something healthier. My parents were relieved to see me get back on my feet, Though my mom did say, never let anyone take advantage of your kindness again. She wasn't wrong. This ordeal taught me the value of setting firm boundaries and confirming facts before making serious commitments. Legally, I was in the clear. My attorney assured me there was no basis to hold me responsible for a child that wasn't mine, especially since I had never signed any acknowledgement of paternity or implied it after discovering the truth. Girlfriend and best friend finally stopped pestering me once they saw I was ready to defend myself in court if needed. Last I heard, best friend was juggling multiple part-time jobs. Girlfriend ended up staying with relatives, still sorting out her pregnancy. If the baby was his, he owed the child support. Sometimes I look back and wonder how long they were sneaking around before I caught on. The betrayal was hard to swallow, but it sharpened my instincts. I learned the importance of direct communication and, more crucially, of standing up for myself. These days, I've cut ties with them entirely and invest my energy in better relationships. Life's not perfect, but at least I'm free of their toxicity. People occasionally ask if I'd ever forgive them. Maybe in another lifetime. For now, I'm satisfied knowing I took a stand, exposed their manipulations, and secured my future. That's how I protected myself from a fraudulent child support ploy, and made them regret trying to exploit my loyalty. They remain just two people who don't respect boundaries, and I'm done letting others dictate my life.